Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another interview for our public Quran campaign, My Chosen Verse series. Today with us we have Noureddine Miladi, who is a university professor of media and communication. He has had various books published, as well as his academic research papers on social media and social change, media and Islamophobia, media ethics, and diasporic communities and satellite TV. His forthcoming book is about global media ethics and the digital revolution, to be published by Routledge, and addresses the need for a global media ethics philosophy given the challenges of digital technology. So, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the Public Quran Campaign.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for the invite.
Yes. So, without further ado, I just hand over to you and talk about your first chosen verse.
Okay, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahim. A very probably dear verse to me, and the whole Quran is dear to us Muslims, is from Surah Al-An'am, which is Surah number 6, verse 162, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين. Say, surely my prayer, my worship, my life, and my death are all for Allah, Lord of all worlds. This obviously is like a motto, a raison d'etre for every Muslim. And this is how I see it for myself, where the Prophet ﷺ was instructed by Allah, O Muhammad, say that my prayer, the acts of worship that we do, my worship, my dua, my life, all my living days in this world, my death, all for Allah. I wanted to take from this a very important rule indeed, and a concept for myself and for everyone who is listening to me, that this is the constitution or the basis that every Muslim should look for in this life. In everything you do, you and I, we actually look for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the ultimate aim. If you are a student, if you are a businessman, if you are a woman who is actually doing a very important work at home, which is taking care of the family, if you are someone who is doing a night shift in a hospital in the time of Corona nowadays, if you are a cleaner in the streets of the UK anywhere, if you are any other employee in the government or privately employed, you should think of yourself as doing that for the sake of Allah. You perfect your work because you love Allah. You perfect your study because you love Allah. You perfect whatever you do in this life because indeed you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think if we tune ourselves as parents, as children, as workers, as politicians, as media people, as whoever we are in this world, if we tune our aim, our niyyah, our attention to Allah, Allah hopefully, bi'idhnillah, will give us all the reward that we'll be aiming for. So you'll be reaping the reward from the dunya as a student, as a worker, as an employee, but at the same time you'll be getting on top of that a very beautiful reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of your intention. Now, I'll move on to the second choice, which are a number of verses indeed. I put them all together. These are from Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is number 5 from the list of surahs in the Quran. This is also very dear to me as the whole Quran, but it's about the status of Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, in the Quran, and how he is viewed in the Quran, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala debates with him his statehood as a prophet, not as any other entity as seen by other people. Now, verse number 116 from Surah Al-Ma'idah, it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذ قال الله يا عيسى ابن مريم أأنت قلت للناس اتخذوني وأمي إلهين من دون الله قال سبحانك ما يكون لي أن أقول ما ليس لي به حق إن كنت قلته فقد علمته تعلم ما في نفسي ولا أعلم ما في نفسك إنك أنت علام الغيوب. A very beautiful explanation of saying of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks Isa alayhi salam of who exactly he is. The translation reads, and on judgment day Allah will say, O Jesus, son of Mary, did you ever ask the people to worship you and your mother as gods beside Allah? He will answer, Isa alayhi salam, this is my word, he will answer, glory be to you. How could I ever say what I had no right to say? If I had said such a thing, you would have certainly known it. You know what is hidden within me, but I do not know what is within you. Indeed, you alone are the knower of all the unseen. And this is so important to me, at least, as a Muslim living in the West, a huge part of my life, seeing how other probably faith groups look at Isa alayhi salam as something more than a human, something more than a prophet, something more than a messenger. The Quran rectifies this position. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment, He is going to, in front of Al-Mala, in front of all humanity, of all the creatures, He will ask Isa alayhi salam, Oh Jesus, did you say to people, you and your mother were gods beside me? Obviously, Isa alayhi salam will reply very quickly. In Arabic it says, Subhanak, oh Allah, no, I wouldn't do it. This is when you say Subhanak in Arabic. In the Arabic language, he would say, Subhanak, glory to you, oh Allah, I would never have done it. The second verse is the following one, which is 117. It says, and this is where Isa alayhi salam explains himself exactly what he did in his life before he was uplifted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, taken by Allah. ما قلت لهم إلا ما أمرتني به أن أعبدوا الله ربي وربكم وكنت عليهم شهيدا ما دمت فيهم فلما توفيتني كنت أنت الرقيب عليهم وأنت على كل شيء شهيد. I never told them anything except what you ordered me to say. This is what Isa alayhi salam will testify in the day of judgment. I never told them anything except what you ordered me to say. Worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. And I was not witness over them as long as remained among them. But when you took me, you were the witness over them, and you are a witness over all things. Isa alayhi salam will testify that, oh Allah, I was a witness when I was on this earth, on them, and I knew what I told them and what they worshipped. They worshipped you. But when you took me, you were the witness, and you know everything. So it was like a rhetorical question asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Isa alayhi salam, because Allah knew everything after He took Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Verse number 18, a continuation, where Isa alayhi salam will ask Allah to be merciful on people, and we leave Him to judge them, those who associated other gods beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In tu'adhibhum, the Quran reads in verse number 118, in tu'adhibhum fa'innahum ibaduk wa in taghfir lahum fa'innaka antal azizul hakim. O Allah, if you punish them, they belong to you after all. But if you forgive them, you are surely the Almighty, all-wise. Continue to verse 119, the last one in this series of verses about Isa alayhi salam. قال الله هذا ينفع الصادقين صدقهم قال الله هذا يوم ينفع الصادقين صدقهم لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك الفوز العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finishes the story by talking how truthfulness is a savior in this life. People will be saved by saying the truth, by being truthful. So the verse reads in English, Allah will say, this is the day when the truthful will benefit from their truthfulness. For them are gardens in paradise beneath which rivers flow, wherein they will abide forever, Allah being pleased with them and they with him. That is the great attainment. So this is my really intake on these verses, and I thought they should be dear to every Muslim, because in this modern society where we have different faiths and faith groups, and there is a kind of a mixture, or there is a kind of misinformation about the status of Isa alayhi salam. Now the Quran, in a very beautiful yet very strong and succinct way, puts the fact that on the day of judgment, Isa alayhi salam will testify that he was the son of Mary. He was a prophet and human being. He was never, and he never claimed that he was the son of God or he was a God. Hasha wa kalla alayhi as-salatu was-salam. That's my intake.
It's very interesting. The thing that kind of jumps out to me from these verses, there's a couple of things. One is that this thing after you took me, you are the witness, implying that he doesn't know what happened after he was taken away from this earth. So he's you know, these are, you can say, well, debate about whether taken or he died or he didn't die or whatever. He basically implies he doesn't know what's going on after he's not among the people. Now, whether he's somewhere else or just he's dead waiting for resurrection himself, well, is not discussed, but I don't want to go into that too much. But the principle is there that he doesn't know what we're doing because he's not among us. And then so it's very much like, you know, the verse in the Quran that says you cannot make the dead hear. Like they, you know, once they're gone, all right. And we have this idea in Surah Al-Baqarah, which talks about this idea that, you know, you were dead and he brought you to life, and he will make you die again, and then he will bring you back to life. Okay. And this idea that it's not that, although to other people, to us, we may experience it like, as it says in the Quran, like a day or part of a day. Like death is like a sleep. You know, you fall asleep and then you wake up on Judgment Day, and it feels like no time has passed. And this is referred to many places in the Quran. But this idea that essentially you're not aware of what's going on after you've died. That's it. Your awareness shuts down until resurrection, and then you can find out all sorts of things. But the point is, you're not aware of what's going on. So the only one who's all aware is Allah. And if you pray to Jesus, or you pray to Muhammad, or you pray to whoever else, saints or whatever, you can't make the dead hear. No, only Allah hears. So it's a very important point about this, and that ties very well with your first verse, which is about you know, only worshipping Allah. That it's your life is dedicated to Allah, and you're not making partners. This issue of Tawheed, the unity of God, that you're praying only to God and you're serving only God, and you're not trying to find other intermediaries or other routes to God you're trying to go through. That it is a matter of the purity of it, and I think that aspect is very important, but it's just kind of covered across as implicit in what Jesus is testifying, that I didn't know what happened after I left them. And I think that's very important to the whole kind of Islamic belief about Jesus, about the prophets, and about the people who are dead as well. As we think that they are going to be resurrected, but they're not necessarily they are not able to hear you. They are now gone. They are dead, and they will be brought back to life. But at the moment, they're dead. Whether they're just taken away, and that is another question of perspective. But they're unaware of you at the very least.
Yeah. No, referring again to the verse number 1, which is from Surah Al-An'am, verse number 162. I think it does help a lot to probably guide Muslims with regard to fine-tuning their intention with regard to everything they do in this life. Because so often we think that the good niyyah, the good intention, is only related to the acts of worship. And we seem to sometimes exclude every other affairs in our lives, whereby they should be, in actual fact, purely intended for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you may think here about everything, in fact. And this has got two reasons. The first one is that you are not expected to associate anything else with Allah. That's one, in everything you do, all right, which is purifying your intention, purifying your heart, purifying your niyyah. This is the purification part of it. So your intention is pure towards Allah. And the second one is the reward, where also the verse implies, and this is what the Mufassirin say, they argue that when you purify your intention and put that little kind of extra thought about everything you do, I do it for the sake of Allah, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this is, you'll have the reward, an extra thing which is called the reward, in addition to whatever you gain from that work. I gave the example, as for example, a student who strives and reads books and stays night and days and do essays and exams and with all the trauma and all the problems that come with that, all right, in your student life. If you think about doing that for the sake of Allah, and all that struggle actually is to become a better Muslim, to become a better human being, to become a better educated person, to become one day a person who can probably solve the problems of humanity as a doctor or as a professor or as an employee in any government office or any business. Okay, if you think about your struggle as a student, just in that little angle, which is put your intention for Allah, then Allah will give you not only the certificate at the end, which is success, but also you get the rewards. So all that struggle will be turned into hasanat, okay, in the day of judgment. So you have, in actual fact, won twice. You won by getting your certificate as a graduate, but also you won because you pleased Allah, and Allah gave you huge reward for your pure intention, because you did what you did to please Him.
I think this is a very important point. I mean, we talk about this, but I think one of the things that people need clarification on about this is that the idea that you have selfish motives is we all have desires, we all have needs, and it reminds me of a verse of the Prophet, or not a verse, a hadith, where the Prophet says that even if you have relations with intimate relations with your wife, this is ibadah, this is worship. Okay, this is because it's doing something in a halal way rather than a haram way, and so you're choosing the way that's pleasing to Allah, and in that choice you are having an intention that pleases Allah. So it's not that you don't have desires, it's not that you have other things you're trying to achieve, but you know that you can only achieve them in a way that is also pleasing to Allah. So it's not that you can't have this kind of pure sort of Kantian intention. It's an intention for doing things that are pleasing to Allah, but also that please other people and please yourself and are good in other ways, utilitarian ways. But ultimately, you know that you're trying to do it according to principles of taqwa and trying to please Allah and doing things in the best way that He wants them done. So there's this sometimes people get it in sort of tend towards a sort of monkishness of like I can't have my own desires and I can't be doing it to please other people. And no, there is good to be done to please other people, and through doing it, you please Allah. There's a couple of examples we can think about. There's a hadith I was reminded of recently about, if you go to, if you see someone sick in hospital, you'll find that's going through seeing them in hospital. You're going to, you'll find Allah there because He is with the sick. So the idea that you please other people, you're doing things that benefit them because it pleases Allah as well. And so it's not that you don't do this. And I just bring one other thought that kind of ties this together with other things. It is that the ethic of we do things for other people, for the benefit of other people, so that Allah will be beneficent to us. So this is pleasing to Allah. So this is captured in even in the Christians' Lord's Prayer, you know, that says, you know, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. So we're kind to others so that Allah is kind to us, and we're merciful to others so that Allah is merciful to us. So the purity of intention does not mean that you are kind of isolated and monkish and celibate and everything else. We are beings in this world, and we live in this world, and that is what Allah wants us to do, and we should be we just have to do it in the way that is pleasing to Him.
As a final thought with regard to this verse from Surah Al-An'am, number 162, is really the sweetness in the heart that the Muslim feels when he or she purifies their intention the way the verse speaks about. And that is so significant. It's only to people who really tried it and experienced it. The second one is with regard to the meaningfulness to everything you do that you attain when you have also the same intention. So therefore, when you and I keep repeating this golden rule, surely my prayer, my worship, my life, and my death are all for Allah, Lord of all worlds. I think everything we do in our lives, even if it is so simple, and sometimes we don't think it's related to acts of worship or acts of reward or whatever, it actually becomes a meaningful act because you are doing it with a purpose, and you have an ultimate purpose, which is the pleasure of the Almighty Allah. And I hope what everyone listening to us will basically keep in mind is really to have this as a motto, as a rule, because it gives meaning to our whole life, in my understanding. Jazakumullah khairan wa barakallahu fikum.
Jazakallah, that's very nice, and thank you very much, and we'll finish that. Thank you. Salam.
Alhamdulillah. Shukran jazilan for the invite, and may Allah reward you for all this effort. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.